Three, two, one. All right. Welcome back, everybody. My name's Austin. Crazy day in the market yesterday. We finally had a little bit of significant price action after about two and a half months of just consolidating in this descending triangle. We finally broke out, unfortunately, to the downside, but it was a hell of a candle. We started off the day yesterday at 9,700. We wicked below the 200-day MA for the first time since we shot above it back in early April of this year when we shot from 4,000 up to 5,000. We wicked below the 200 MA just for a minute, and what started off at 9,700, we seem right now to be consolidating at 8,500, although look at this candle. It just started, but it really hasn't made up its mind which direction are we headed. So what do you think? Me personally, any amount of volatility, 15, 20% drops, this is just par for the course with Bitcoin. What I'm pleasantly happy to see is we finally have a breakout. I mean, yes, it's to the downside, but we finally have a breakout in some direction. We can just watch and see how this market matures from here. The big question is, where is Bitcoin headed next in the short term? To take us to that answer, I want to go to the COO of Bakkt. As you know, the Bakkt just launched yesterday. Relatively low volume. We're going to check back up on this in a second. But like always, let's get a little perspective because Bakkt is something that we have new in the market. Let's get a little perspective how Bakkt's monthly futures contracts and daily futures contracts can give us a pretty good idea of where the price of Bitcoin is headed next.
So when we're talking about a futures contract, you're offering a daily contract. You're also offering a monthly contract, which means, to your point about price discovery, we could get a sense of where people think the price is going over the next 12 months.
That's exactly right. So our monthly contract goes 12 months out. So what we expect to see happen is that traders will begin to look at the forward price curve to say, where do they think the price of Bitcoin is going to go? And that's really important, not just for the speculators, the actual businesses that rely on using Bitcoin. So the miners are the companies that mine Bitcoin, and in doing so want to hedge and manage their risk. We think this contract's a natural fit for them.
All right. I appreciate that perspective. I like it. But that's the dream. If people would show up to Bakkt, yes, that would be a good indicator, potentially, where the price of Bitcoin is headed next. So if we check back in yesterday, hours after Bakkt officially opened up, the volume for the monthly futures contracts was 13. If we refresh the page, we can see that even as the price of Bitcoin continues to dump, the volume right now for the monthly futures contracts is 216. Is that good? Is that bad? I mean, this is still relatively low. I hope this increases. I mean, it probably will increase as we get new money entering the space, as more people start to come on board to crypto and Bitcoin. It's got potential. But if I'm just being brutally honest, since we've already had CME, yes, they're cash settled, but we've already had futures contracts in the space of cryptocurrency of Bitcoin for over a year now. So the only thing that I can see as the fundamental, maybe catalyst for new money coming in is potentially the halving.
Talk to me about halvening, because we've talked about this on the show, and there are optimists who believe that this will have a positive impact on the price. If you're talking about being able to show what people believe the price of Bitcoin will be 12 months out, then if there is going to be a price increase as a result of the halvening, your futures contract should show that.
Possibly, yeah. So the halvening is an event in the Bitcoin network. About every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that's created every 10 minutes drops in half. With that, you see, a diminishing supply. If the demand stays the same, oftentimes we'll see the price increase. We think this is an important part of the futures contract to help businesses kind of discover what the fair market value of Bitcoin is going to be through events like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes. Based on any futures contracts, we should be able to see what are investors thinking for the long term, at least going by the monthly futures contracts. Right now, the volume's still pretty low, but as we get more volume, we will be able to see what the investors are thinking, going into 2020. If we look at the daily futures contracts, still no data available yet. People prefer the long term over the short term. I do not blame them. But to answer the question, where is Bitcoin headed next? We can look to platforms that have been around a whole lot longer than Bakkt, like Bitfinex and BitMEX. On Bitfinex, for example, 67% of people are longing Bitcoin, saying the price of Bitcoin is going to go up from here, as opposed to only 32% who are shorting it. In BitMEX, slightly less margins, but 53% of people, the majority of people, are longing Bitcoin on BitMEX as well. Of course, we can go and look at Ethereum from here. More people are longing Ethereum as well. Despite the longs, the current sentiment of Bitcoin specifically, still negative. If/when we get our next significant price move out of Bitcoin, or whenever we get a significant piece of news that you should know about cryptocurrency, this channel will make a video, so hit subscribe so you can stay informed on this emerging space. First piece of news, Kik messaging app to shut down following the SEC lawsuit against their ICO, their KIN token. Now, we reported that their CEO, Ted Livingston, was texting about quitting yesterday. Well, following reports, its cryptocurrency-focused subsidiary KIN, so remember, KIN is the token for messaging app Kik. Following reports that KIN had laid off 70 employees, Kik Interactive CEO Ted Livingston announced Monday that Kik will also be shutting down its core messaging service. In a company blog post, Livingston said the ongoing dispute with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has forced Kik, the company, to close its doors. In a direct quote, "After 18 months of working with the SEC, the only choice they gave us was to either label KIN a security or fight them in court. So with the SEC working to characterize almost all cryptocurrencies as securities, we made the decision to step forward and fight." What's interesting, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but what's interesting is they're shutting down their messaging app and they're just now focused on their cryptocurrency. In addition to shutting down the app, Livingston said the company would shrink its crypto operations to just 19 core developers with a focus on fostering the adoption of Kik's KIN cryptocurrency. So now with the SEC breathing down their neck, they shut down Kik and they're all focused on KIN. But my question is, well, how's KIN supposed to work without their messaging app to back it up with some sort of utility? Well, question answered. KIN is currently used by millions of people in dozens of independent apps. So while the SEC might be able to push us around, taking on the broader KIN ecosystem will be a much bigger fight. And the ecosystem is close to adding a lot more firepower. So I guess the decentralized nature of the whole KIN ecosystem. And if you use KIN on an independent app, let me know what that is, because I've never seen it. But they're trying. The fight continues with the SEC. Next piece of news, and this is a bit of breaking news for you. The Bitfinex exchange no longer needs to turn over documents to the New York Attorney General. So Bitfinex potentially been doing some shady stuff. Back in August, a judge told them they have to turn over their documents to the New York Attorney General. Now I guess in this appellate court, they said the New York Attorney General does not have jurisdiction. L. James wrote at the time. So at the time, this was the quote, "Our investigation has determined that the operators of Bitfinex trading platform, who also control the Tether virtual currency, have engaged in a cover-up to hide the apparent loss of $850 million of commingled client and corporate funds." Now the documents stay with Bitfinex. I mean, the case is still ongoing. Many people, in fact, attribute the tether pump to the maybe unexpected bloat we saw from 3,000 to 14,000 this year for Bitcoin. But either way, this is a little win for Bitfinex in the short term. The case is ongoing. Whenever we get more information, I'll keep you updated. And yes, that is the video for today. Final thing I want to put on your radar. As you know, my brother and I, we live in Los Angeles, California. We are your man on the streets, giving you the nitty-gritty details of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Tonight on FXX is a new show called Quarter Life Poetry. And I happen to know for a fact, because I know the creator, I happen to know that at one point in this short show, it's called Quarter Life Poetry, tonight at 10:30, cryptocurrency will be mentioned. Do not blink. Do not go to the kitchen to get some food because you might miss it. But for those of you who want to be kept up to date on the daily doings of crypto, not only coming out of the market, but what the common person is watching on TV daily. This will be premiering tonight. Crypto will be mentioned. For those of you that do choose to watch, might be past some of your bedtimes, comment below down in the video. Let me know on Twitter. Crypto is mentioned. All right, that's the news today. My name's Austin. Like always, I'll see you tomorrow.